Nothing can stop me, I'm all the way.
How's it going, guys? Public Safety Network here. Today, actually, we're going to start a new series called On the Job. And what that's going to be is we're going to talk about different types of security jobs that you may be interested in doing. As I mentioned in previous videos prior, when getting into security, it's good to have a general idea of maybe which type of security you want to do. And so for this series, we're going to go over about 5 or 6 different jobs in security that may interest you at some point. We're going to kind of overview the jobs. We're going to discuss things like job duties, expectations of the job, working conditions, possibly even pay rates, although that's going to vary heavily from state to state and even locality to locality. But again, we're going to kind of give you a broad overview of the job so that if you're interested, you may look for jobs like that in your area. So for today's segment, we're going to be talking about loss prevention. You may see the title Loss Prevention Officer, Loss Prevention Agent, Store Detective. All of these titles are going to equal to roughly the same job. And what that is loss prevention is generally a kind of corporate tool that companies use in order to help prevent loss usually through external or internal theft. They hire these so-called security personnel. You may also see the term corporate security sometimes. And what their job is to prevent internal and external theft. Again, external is usually through things like shoplifting, item switching, price, things like that. And then internal theft is usually coming from employees, usually finding ways to game the system in order to get items at a massive discount, or just outright steal them. And so that's their job. So this is actually kind of a twofold job. The most common form of loss prevention you're going to see is that of the plainclothes ones you see at retail stores. Now, you may see occasionally a uniformed loss prevention personnel. To be perfectly honest, that kind of is a very ineffective way of doing things because it is very proactive because you're preventing people from doing things because no one wants to outright commit a crime in front of someone in uniform. In order to kind of catch shoplifters, it makes more sense to have plainclothes personnel walking the floors and actively seeing what's going on. And so that's actually the most common form of loss prevention that you're going to see is going to be people in plain clothes walking around the store acting as regular shoppers in order to catch people shoplifting. And so I've worked with a couple loss prevention personnel. They were both very professional. They were actually both very good at their jobs. And honestly, they caught shoplifters almost daily. Where you get into kind of where things may change is your use of force policy. Obviously, this is going to be dictated not only by the state you live in, but also by your company policy. Some companies are very, very proactive. They're very hands-on with their loss prevention, and they would like their loss prevention personnel to actively try to apprehend shoplifters. And there are some companies that are very hands-off, and they do not want their guards going hands-on. They would prefer that they try to talk them into staying and waiting for the police to arrive, but they do not want them actively trying to fight with shoplifters. And in a lot of cases, I can agree with that policy because in most states, shoplifting is a misdemeanor outside of certain circumstances. Usually things like if it's a controlled item like liquor or cigarettes, if it's over a certain amount, things like that, it becomes a felony. But I can understand where it's coming from. We're saying you don't want them fighting with people over misdemeanors where they could get hurt. It just poses a lot of liability issues. But again, I also don't knock companies who want to take a more aggressive approach to preventing theft. And I can see both sides of the argument here. And in all honesty, as a business owner, kind of their decision on what type of loss prevention they're looking for. So those are, and honestly, that's going to be the main job of loss prevention is pretty much just the plainclothes work, catching and apprehending shoplifters, or at least getting a good enough description where you can file a report with the police and possibly they can get caught later down the line, especially if they come back. Other types of loss prevention duties include things like internal audits. You're going to, a lot of times, companies either use their own internal staff or they'll contract out companies to run audits on their security to see how well it works. And what that means is they will send in loss prevention personnel to see actually how much they can steal from the store. They'll go in and try to snag either a bunch of little items or big ticket items and see how much they can get out, either without being noticed by staff or by other security personnel. And sometimes they get away with quite a lot, and it will show the weaknesses in kind of the stores or the company's security measures. There's actually a TV show. It was on True TV. You could tell it was pretty staged. It gave a pretty good outlook on loss prevention, and that was the show Caught Red-Handed, where they'd send in loss prevention personnel to kind of evaluate a store's loss prevention needs. It was usually stores that were losing thousands, if not tens of thousands of dollars a month in loss from internal and external theft. But running internal security audits, obviously running to prevent external theft, these are all jobs that are going to be part of loss prevention. And then you also have higher up steps, which usually what's known as corporate security. Actually, when I worked at an armored truck company, we had a corporate security who was actually a retired police detective, and his whole job was to investigate any possible theft from the company. And we were talking like high dollars worth of theft. We were talking in the tens, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars. And so those types of jobs are very, in all honesty, it's very similar to being a police detective. It very much becomes an interrogation when you're talking to 5 different employees who may have all came in contact with the money, and you're treating it like a police interrogation. You want to know what happened to the money, and you're pretty much trying to break them down and get somebody to confess. Those jobs exist. There aren't a whole lot of them, though, and like I said, a lot of them are going to go to former police detectives, or possibly anyone who has worked in the investigation and interrogation fields will most likely land these types of jobs. But they are out there. So if that's something that interests you, you may want to look into, so if you're coming from a military background or you're coming from a law enforcement background, these jobs are out there. They might be for you. They usually are in the higher salary ranges. I've seen them usually range anywhere from about $65,000 to over $100,000 a year, depending on, again, the corporation and the place you live. For your standard loss prevention, you're looking at, I've seen it as low as $12 an hour. I've seen it all the way up to $19 an hour, at least where I live at. Again, you're going to check with your state, because again, it's going to change from state to state and even city to city based on things like minimum wage laws, cost of living, all of that. But I've noticed that loss prevention tended to be in more of the middle of the pack to a little bit of the higher end of the pay scale versus regular security guards. So that's something you might want to look into. A lot of places don't require any experience. They will train you internally, I've seen, especially if it's a internal hire versus a contract company. And so that's, again, something I've talked about, working in-house versus working contract. But that's all I really have for you guys today. This was just going to be kind of a quick video, and we're going to have about 4 or 5 more other ones down the line. I'm going to try to space them out between other videos so that you guys don't get bored with this. But, if any of my listeners are loss prevention, go ahead and drop it down in the comment section. Tell people what you do, expectations, pay ranges, things like that. I'm sure they're dying to know. So go ahead and ask in the comment section. And if you guys haven't already, go ahead and subscribe to the channel. Follow me on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. And I will, or if you're from the Reddit community, you'll probably see me on Reddit at some time this week. Like I said, but thanks for watching, guys. Again, the channel continues to grow, and the more it grows, the more I'm going to be doing. So thanks for the support, guys, and I hope everyone has a good day.